everyone, and welcome back to Court Climbs. Today I am here with my friend Joel Brady. Joel has projected quite a few things in his climbing career, and I have not. In fact, I just got on my first ever real outdoor project this past summer. Which I didn't share too much on the channel about, mostly because it takes a lot of physical and mental focus to project. So today we're gonna learn a few tips from Joel. He's gonna get on his project, this 514 blue route behind us. What even is projecting for people that aren't familiar with it?
I think of a project as a route that you definitely don't do it on your first try. You don't do it on your second try. And then beyond that, like, when does it become a project? For me, it's like something I'm gonna spend maybe more than 3 days on. It's generally something that is at or near your physical limit, or what you might perceive as your physical limit. By definition, you're not doing your hardest route on your first try. In order to do it, you've got to try a route, refine your techniques. You might have to train specifically for it. You've got to have some tactics and strategy. You've got to stick with it through the long run and stay motivated. And so that's really what I think of as a project.
Something when I was trying to choose a project last year that was difficult for me is how to choose your project. The way that I chose mine was just a recommendation from a friend.
Sure.
They said, this is a great first 11A. I really think that you can do it. And I think that starting off with that belief was like a really good place to start. But are there any recommendations that you have on how to choose a project?
Recommendations from friends is certainly a way to go about it. You have to think about what's going to appeal to you stylistically, in terms of the movement, in terms of the rock. Then there's the practical, pragmatic side of it, which is, are you gonna have the time to go where that project is? Are the people that you're climbing with going to want to go there too? For me, I like something that's really aesthetically pleasing, a beautiful route, one that I know is gonna be a challenge.
Something to consider too is the routes around it. I liked projecting Wild Seed at Fern Buttress because there were a few other 10s in the area that I knew I could kind of like warm up on, or if I had a bad day on that and didn't want a project, then I could go do something else.
Yeah.
I think when I was selecting a project, I wanted to select it based on a grade. Are there any other like routes you could go potentially to select your project rather than like, I want to climb my first X grade?
Well, first of all, I'll say like that's not the worst way to approach it either. If you're gonna go the grade route, it is important to target something that's both challenging yet realistic. The pyramid method is a tried and true method, which is like, okay, I wanna climb a 511D by the 6 months from now. You do 4 11Bs, then you're gonna do 3 11Cs. Well, whatever.
In your example, yeah. 2 11Ds and now your first 12.
Once you have the project selected, generally what I'll do is break it down into the specific sections. Frequently I'll think of those sections as boulder problems. So I just climbed through this, what is relatively straightforward V5. Then I have the crux of the route right here, which is the little V8 section. For this project, for this boulder, it's the hardest section of the route. The hardest move is up there, but it's hard to transition into it. So I'm lowered down to the spot where it's probably easiest to pull on. It's pretty hard to pull on over here.
Talk to me about this fall because you immediately jumped back up the rope.
Yeah, I kind of like tried to assess what happened there briefly, but then very quickly I jumped back up. I'll see this happen sometimes where people they're working a route, they fall, and then they just hang out where they are to get their rest. And at the end of the rest, then they jug back up the rope, and now they're tired again, and now they have to rest again. While you're tired, jug back up, clip in, and then do your rest where you're gonna start, basically. You're conserving energy by doing it that way.
Is there a certain way that you prepare, like before you even go out to your project?
It helps to have been climbing for 30 years. first.
Okay, I'll just.
Everyone, before you go into a project, if you can have already been climbing for 30 years, that's the best. I generally will try to rest 2 solid days, in which I will still do like light pulls, try to make sure I get sleep, try to make sure I'm eating well. I try to make explicit for myself any subconscious doubt that I might have. I have to start the process knowing it might be a long process. Yes. On the other hand, I think that I've been trying to be better about getting through these projects more efficiently. This is the crux move, going from this hold to this hold. And the crux is peeling out from this position, but I'm gonna cheat it a little and just grab from this hold and do like a slightly easier, well, significantly easier variation on the move, just to get the feel of it.
Nice roll.
Clipping. All right, you can take there. Even though I didn't do the move there, I did a version of the move that let me feel what that body position is like. So I'm really, kind of building muscle memory around that.
Come on.
Clipping.
Nice.
I see a lot of people, they go up, they try their route, they fall, and then they're like, okay, lower, I'll try again. I think I always, if I fall, I stop and I ask, is there something to be learned right now? I try to stay there for a little bit and say like, why did I fall? What could be different, and is it worth getting back on the wall? Now I'm at the section of the route. I've just come through the V5, then I had the little V8, V7. You get a little clip, and now this little V6 section, which is really just like 2 or 3 moves of pretty small holds. Generally when I'm working these different boulders, I am making sure that I rest in the same way that I would if I were bouldering on the ground. I'm resting 3 to 4 minutes in between trying moves. I set a timer for myself. Your inclination is to climb sooner than you should. So I either have something to set a timer for myself or ask the belayer on the ground to set a timer for 3 minutes. There's definitely like an approach to climbing that is rooted in the like ground up ethics of the 60s, 70s, and early 80s that you still will find, like people who don't want to stick clip their way up a route, or and that's perfectly fine if that's your approach. Sometimes when I'm projecting, if this is the main section that I want to work, if I'm outside and this section is like 70 feet up, I might show up for the day and just stick clip my way up the route, stick clip my whole way up, and just jug through to the section I want to try so that I've conserved all the energy, and then work that section of the route.
At some point when you're projecting, it's pretty likely that mentally you're gonna get very frustrated, very tired.
Yes.
How do you keep yourself going?
Yeah, the mental thing is like, okay, sometimes I do the like, I'm before the hard move, and I think all I want to do is be at that hold looking down on where I am now. Or I tell myself I'm repeating the route. So think about if you've ever repeated a route that's relatively hard for you, it's a whole different mindset. You've already done it, the pressure is off. I'm in a projecting session and I've been on this route for an hour, but I'm like hanging on the rope and then I'm trying the hard part, and the hard part just feels so hard, right?
Hard.
I'm doing it, but it barely, or I'm not doing it. And I'm like, how in the world am I gonna do this on red point? How am I gonna climb 70 feet into this? So I always have to remember that if I'm at that point, if I'm an hour into my session, I have been bouldering for an hour. And that's like, you have to say that to yourself. You have been bouldering for an hour. And when you're on red point, you're not going to have been bouldering for an hour.
Right.
And you're not going to have been bouldering the same move for an hour. Like, you are very tired in the very specific muscles and the body tension you need for that particular move because you've done it like 10 or 15 times. On red point, you won't have done it any times.
Right.
None.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be tired from the other stuff, yes, but not tired like the way that you are now
That's
off
a
the
huge
job.
mental shift.
The other thing psychologically is you always want to go into it with, what am I going to learn today? What have I learned at the end? And even if it's like you get to the end, I'm like, I didn't learn anything. Well, the thing you can learn is like that you can stay with the process, and that is learning a kind of
Patience. You learn patience.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this Olympian, or former Olympian, she was a runner, Alexi Pappas is her name.
Okay.
And she talked about, her coach told her about the rule of thirds. When you're trying something hard, when you have a big dream, big goal, like projecting, a third of the time you're gonna feel horrible.
Yeah.
A third of the time you're gonna feel okay. And a third of the time you're gonna feel really good. And if that's kind of like off anywhere, then you need to make adjustments in what you're doing. So like, just with that sentiment alone, that means that 2/3 of the time you're gonna feel okay or horrible.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
One thing when I'm working a boulder is I'm looking for subtle adjustments that might make something easier. So just now I did a version of this that it took me a while to get to. When I go this time, I'll step on this foothold and watch which direction my knee is pointed in. Pretty subtle, but that little drop knee means I'm having to try just a little bit less pull here. It's the kind of route where all those little subtle efficiencies add up by the end. One thing I definitely am trying to work out when I'm projecting is my clipping beta and my chalking beta. When am I chalking? How often am I chalking? Where do I do it? What's the efficient position to be in when I do it? Same goes for clipping, and it's not always obvious where or when or how to clip. So I'm gonna hop onto this orange route real quick. I don't think I've ever climbed this route now that I think about it. All right, so I could clip here, but these are not the best clipping holds that there are. So instead, I'm gonna just do like one more move to the huge jug, and I'm not even, my waist isn't even above this clip yet. And I'm gonna get into a stance that I like. I think I like this. But I don't want to clip yet because I want to shake out this arm a little. A lot of times I find people get to the good clipping hold and they want to clip right away, but they got pretty tired getting to it. If you try to clip right away when you first get there, you might be taking your arms too far on the pump side. So just shake out a little bit, deep breathe, reset, deep breaths, and thinking about slowing down your heart rate is really important on rests. And now I feel pretty rested, so I'll go ahead and clip. Back onto the 14 here. For this clip, I have maybe 4 options for the clip, none of which are great because it's a hard route. I'll try it with mock clips. Reach up, clip up, so I don't have to worry about when I get there to the clipping position, falling. I can just do a mock clip from any of these positions. Let's try each option here. All right, so let's say if I wanted to, so I'm gonna like do the clipping motion like this. It would be pretty hard to do that. All right, like this, tick. A little harder than I wanna try. If I clip from here, it's gonna be a rose clip. This, when you clip under or do a move under, call that a rose move sometimes. All right, and if I tuck in here, that's actually not too bad. Like I can talk to you normally without straining here. Whoa!
Come on.
That actually felt surprisingly good.
Hey,
I'm
look at that.
surprised how fresh that feels right now.
Yeah.
Right now I'm pretty tired for the last 2 days, but I actually had a really, like everything felt much better than it had a couple days ago when I tried this fresh. I try to take that psychologically. So on this day where I feel more exhausted and more tired than I have in a very, very long time, somehow that upper section felt really good.
Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed these projecting tips, and I hope that they're useful for your next project. And if you've never projected anything, go ahead and give it a shot if you want. You also don't have to. It's totally up to you, and that's the fun part about climbing, is making it whatever it means to you. Thanks so much for sharing all your knowledge, sharing all your tips. Good luck with all of your projects that you have going on. And I do just want to say a huge shout out to Ascend for letting us film in their space, and also for supporting Joel and I on this project. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay hyped.